Movie-to-game translations have become somewhat of a trending topic in recent times here at Awesome Games. The retrospective thoughts on licensed tie-ins have posed a potential pill of insight that perhaps video game developers and publishers are slowly surrendering to the fact that it's far more productive and profitable in the long run to ripen a world that makes the gamer feel nostalgic for his precious license and proud of its preservation. While it would only seem prudent at this point to insert some pun on disguises and what exactly meets the eye, let's not beat around the bush, let's be blunt. The Transformer games, like most movie-based games in the long list of the category, have done nothing short of nosedived in honoring the popular 80s franchise that combined a glut of American trademarks into one. The virtuous fiction of good against evil, the future-obsessed spirit of the Reagan era, and the merchandising of a toy empire. Regrettably, we're not old enough to be able to recount fond memories of Generation 1, but the Transformer toy line's brilliance always lay in its timelessness. 50 years from now, our offspring will still be chicken-scratching Transformers onto their Christmas wish lists. There's just something totally mind-blowing as a boy about being able to turn a car into a military mock-up. It's the quintessential male fetish that combines those prepubescent obsessions with creativity and destruction. But back to the games, they blew chunks. It's that simple. From the Commodore to the current consoles, they just couldn't capture that childish fascination with robots that fight each other for the fate of mankind. That is, until High Moon Studios finally got it right with Transformers War for Cybertron, a game that threw the used car salesman Michael Bay's pathetic 2-hour commercials of the last few years in the trash, and instead drew inspiration from the G1 universe, depicting the legendary events of the pivotal battle for the Transformers' home world. Fall of Cybertron is definitely an improvement on that game, and while it's not wholly exceptional when compared to other aforementioned sleeper shocks like Arkham Asylum, it's a damn good Transformers game that does enough to please those Generation 1 kids long grown up.
That idiot's shockwave allowed the Autobots to steal every last drop.
Throughout a campaign that approximates at 8 hours or so, you take control of the Autobots and Decepticons, switching between hero and villain to see Cybertron's decisive end from different perspectives. Much like Halo 2 years back, this is a feature that works better on paper than in practice. While it's awesome to play as all of the Transformers from Bumblebee to Megatron, the single player always suffers when you start juggling between protagonists. That's no different here, but incoherent gameplay is more of an issue than the less than adhesive plot progression. Though at last, it's a relief to finally see Transformers duking it out, the ample amount of action present becomes busted up by stretches of adventure roaming. Pull a lever, complete a context-sensitive action, and you'll frequently itch to get back in the fight before being faced with another slow dialogue-filled section. The combat is fun but flawed. As a third-person shooter, you instinctively try running over to pillars and obstacles, expecting to be able to latch onto their surfaces like Gears of War glue. High Moon Studios was wise, however. This is no cover shooter. Fall of Cybertron encourages you to stay mobile and out of the open. Naturally, considering that the Transformers are vehicles. The problem is that you feel too vulnerable. You'll constantly be searching a site for ammo as enemies unload on your armored hull. Because of this defenselessness, you end up using the environment to take cover anyways, aligning a column to eclipse your foes' locked sights, which ultimately just makes the combat feel a little more clunky. But you do feel like a Transformer. That's where the game outshines its predecessors and earns its standing as a fan favorite. Rolling out is as simple as clicking on the left thumbstick. And though it doesn't serve as much purpose as you'd have hoped for, I mean, yes, you can fight in vehicle form, but it doesn't really offer any real advantage. It all the same looks awesome. After all, the whole appeal of the Transformer that brings out the young GI tyke-out in all of us is seeing a robot shift its 1,000 parts into something completely different. So it might just be a little more than aesthetic, but it's visually grand and never gets old. Unfortunately, the single player is solely single, and unlike War for Cybertron, can't be played with a pal. A lack of co-op mode is disappointing, but the game makes up for it with the solid multiplayer package and survival mode, which is, from the name it should be obvious, a horde mode variant. If the game metaphorically shines in any one aspect, it's in its literal shine. High Moon Studios, with the stern objective of faithfully honoring the license, has created a kinetic Cybertron that genuinely feels like it's coming apart at the crust. Destruction is everywhere. Set pieces and blockbuster cinematics that, unlike Bay's butchery, are actually driven by an emotional crux, are beautiful in their ruin of a planet that honestly gives the sense of a relic, a home with a history. Cybertron is, after all, the major motif of the game, and that you can witness the lore of its demolition in person, automaton, is a powerful and sentimental sight. And of course, you have Peter Cullen reprising his role as Optimus Prime, his usual welcomed melodrama, providing the goosebump fix for the nostalgic.
We need to find more Energon, and quickly. I have a hunch Grimlock may know where to start.
Apart from a few glitches and some frame rate issues on the PS3, the production as a whole is a strong send-off for Cybertron. It's a bit shorter than the first game, but it's also more exciting, every step you make building as a crescendo to the inevitable end of the Transformers' origins.
Angel, angel, what have I done?
Some pacing issues, a slow start to the story, a less than optimal utilization of the ability to transform, and a few presentation issues with occasional glitching and chugging are a few strafing hits just sturdy enough to graze the shield. But a visually moving representation of a key component of the franchise's mythology keeps those issues from making more than a few dents. Autobots roll out and relish the rewards of a great Transformers game long owed.
Together we'll cross the